Hi, my name is Jillian Lamantia, and I will be making pepperoni bread for my foods demonstration. For this recipe, you will need one large pizza dough. This pizza dough is from the Madison Bakery. It's about $2.50 a loaf, and you usually get about 8 servings if you were to make a pizza out of the large pizza dough, making it 32 cents a serving. I will also be using Hormel brand pepperoni, which is from Stop and Shop, which is about $4 a bag, making it about 57 cents a serving. I will be using about half of this bag of mozzarella cheese, Stop and Shop brand, which is about $8 a bag, making it around 25 cents a serving. I also need to use a rolling pin to roll out the dough. I'm going to be using this big pan to cook it. You want to use a pan that has raised edges, because when you cook it in the oven, there's grease that comes out and you don't want the grease to spill all over your oven. So you want to make sure that you have raised edges. And I'll also be using some ShopRite flour just to put on the countertop to make sure that the bread doesn't stick. It's ShopRite brand unbleached enriched flour. So that's what I'm going to use today. For this recipe, the oven needs to be preheated at 400 degrees. Okay, so we're going to flour our work area and then roll out the dough. You want to make sure that you wipe down your counter space and wash your hands before you do this. So first we're going to take a little bit of flour. No specific amount, you just want to make sure that it covers the area that you're going to be working on. Spread it out, and then you want to make sure that you have more on hand because you're probably going to need it. So we're going to remove the dough from the bag, and whoop, it's a little sticky. And we're also going to put some flour on the rolling pin as well, just to make sure, because we don't want the dough to stick. This part's a little tricky because the dough starts to pull itself back in, so you just really gotta keep working with it until you get it to the desired size. Alright, so this is about the size that you want. You want to try to get it as round as possible, but I mean, the dough moves, it's a little difficult. Once your dough is you want to also make sure that the dough isn't too thin, because you don't want it to rip when you roll it. So once the dough is the desired size, you're going to take your 32-ounce bag of mozzarella cheese, and you're only going to use about half of it, and you're going to cover the dough in mozzarella cheese, leaving about an inch around the edges, so it doesn't become too greasy. Okay, so your cheese should look like this. You want it to be pretty even. So now that the cheese is done, you want to make sure that the cheese isn't too thick, because you want to make sure that it melts all the way. But this is good. This is a good enough layer. Okay, now we're going to do the pepperonis. Okay, so you want to lay the pepperonis out so they're close to each other. And you're going to do this all the way around and like inside the circle. Now you're going to do this until the whole circle has pepperoni on it. And you use a little over half of the bag of pepperoni. Alright, just a few more. Oops. Okay. Alright, so this is what your bread should look like when all the pepperoni is spread around, like this. And to add variation to this, instead of using pepperoni, you can use sausage and peppers, or meatballs, or basically anything that you think would be good, you could put on. And to make it healthier, you could add vegetables opposed to the meats. Instead of using mozzarella cheese made with whole milk, you can use mozzarella cheese made with skim milk. And you could also use like whole wheat dough opposed to this type of dough here, which is regular dough. So the new procedure when that is used when making pepperoni bread is the way that you roll it up. Like in class, you roll the dough out and you put on the cheese and the pepperonis, but when you roll it slowly and you tuck with your fingers underneath as you roll. So you're tucking it in so that it rolls tight instead of loose. And you just start on the edge closest to you and you work your way to the other side. And this can be difficult, so it gets easier as the more you make it. Alright, so you want to make sure that you tuck it the whole time because you want it to be nice and tight. It doesn't look that big, but it's really good, I swear. So now that you're done rolling it, you just want to press it a little bit. Make sure that everything's in there that's supposed to be in there. And then we're going to bring over our baking sheet and we're going to place this on the baking sheet. And you want to make sure that you have the side that you rolled, like the opening is down toward the bottom when you do it. And I kind of just curl it into a U because the pan is not wide enough for it to be straight across. And then you want to make sure that you take a knife and cut some slits in the top so that it can breathe and then it doesn't bubble over, because that's not good. So the product should look like this right before it goes into the oven. And now we're gonna put it in our oven for about 45 minutes. Okay, we're gonna set our timer. And we're gonna let that cook for 45 minutes. Alright, so while the bread is in the oven, let's listen to the nutritional value of the pepperoni bread. So for the dough per serving, it's about 144 calories. Total fat is 2 grams. Sodium is 197 milligrams. Total carbohydrates is about 27 grams. And the amount of calories per the whole dough is about 1,158 calories, but keep in mind that's all 8 servings equals that amount of calories. For the mozzarella cheese, 1 serving is about 1/4 of a cup, and this big bag has about 32 servings in it. Per serving, it's 80 calories. 60 of those calories are from fat. The total fat is 6 grams, which is 9% of the daily value. Saturated fat is 3.5 grams, which is about 18% of the daily value. Cholesterol is 15 milligrams, which is about 5% of the daily value. Sodium is 170 milligrams, which is about 7% of the daily value. The total carbohydrates is 1 gram, which is 0% of the daily value. It has 8 grams of protein, 4% of the daily value for vitamin A. Calcium, it's 20% of the daily value. and per bag it's 2,560 calories, but again, keep in mind that's 32 servings in that big bag. Pepperoni serving is 14 slices, and per container there's about 7 servings. Per serving there's 40 calories. Fat calories are 120. The total fat is 13 grams, which is about 20% of the daily value. Saturated fat is 6 grams, which is 30% of the daily value. Cholesterol is 35 milligrams, which is 12% of the daily value. Sodium is 490 milligrams, which is 20% of the daily value. Protein is 5 grams. Iron is 2% of the daily value. Alright, and while the pepperoni bread is cooking, you want to make sure that you clean up your work area. So I just took it out of the oven, and this is what it should look like. This is why you cut holes in the top, so it can breathe and so stuff can come out, so it doesn't, I don't know, burn or explode or something. And then we're gonna wait until this is cool for about 10 or 15 minutes to cut it into slices. Alright, so now we're just gonna cut the pepperoni bread into pieces, and it is ready to serve. See, and it should look like this on the inside.